अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 19, chapter titled as King Yati Achieves Liberation, text 19. Tasmat etam aham tyaktva brahmani adhyaya manasam nirdvandvaha nirahankarah charishyami mrgay saha. Tasmad etamaham tyaktva Tasmad etamaham tyaktva brahmanyadhyaya manasam brahmanyadhyaya manasam nirdvandvo nirahankarash nirdvandvo nirahankara charishyami mrgair saha charishyami mrgair saha. Tasmat etamaham tyaktva brahmanyadhyaya manasam nirdvandvo nirahankara charishyami mrgair saha. Manasam. Mataji, okay, no problem. Mataji. Tasmat, therefore, etam, such strong desires for lusty affairs. Aham, I, tyaktva, giving up. Brahmani, upon the supreme absolute truth. Adhyaya, fixing. Manasam, the mind, nirdvandvaha, without duality, nirahankaraha, without an identity of false prestige, charishyami, I shall loiter or wander in the forest, mrge saha, with the forest animals. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation. Therefore, I shall now give up all these desires and meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Free from the dualities of mental concoction and free from false prestige, I shall wander in the forest with the animals. Purport. To go to the forest and live there with the animals, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only means by which to give up the lusty desires. Unless one gives up such desires, one's mind cannot be freed from material contamination. Therefore, if one is at all interested in being freed from the bondage of repeated birth, death, old age, and disease, from a certain age, one must go to the forest. Panchasharudvam vanam vrajet. After 50 years of age, one should voluntarily give up family life and go to the forest. The best forest is Vrindavana, where one need not live with the animals, but can associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who never leaves Vrindavan. Cultivating Krishna consciousness in Vrindavan is the best means of being liberated from the material bondage. For in Vrindavana, one can automatically meditate upon Krishna. Vrindavana has many temples, and in one or more of these temples, one may see the form of the Supreme Lord as Radha Krishna or Krishna Balarama and meditate upon this form. As expressed here by the words Brahmanya Dhyaya, one should concentrate one's mind upon the Supreme Lord, Parabrahmam. This Parabrahmam is Krishna as confirmed by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Krishna and his abode, Vrindavan, are not different. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrijesha Tanaya Taddhama Vrindavanam. Vrindavan is as good as Krishna. Therefore, if one somehow or other gets the opportunity to live in Vrindavan, and if one is not a pretender, but simply lives in Vrindavan and concentrates his mind upon Krishna, one is liberated from material bondage. One's mind is not purified, however, even in Vrindavan, if one is agitated by lusty desires. One should not live in Vrindavan and commit offenses, for a life of offenses in Vrindavan is no better than the lives of the monkeys and hawks there. Many monkeys and hawks live in Vrindavan, and they are concerned with their sexual desires. Men who have gone to Vrindavan but still hanker for sex should immediately leave Vrindavana and stop their grievous offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. There are many misguided men who live in Vrindavan to satisfy their sexual desires, but they are certainly no better than the monkeys and hawks. Those who are under the control of Maya and specifically under the control of lusty desires are called Maya Mriga. Indeed, everyone in this conditional stage of material life is Maya Mriga. It is called Maya Mrigam Daitepshidam Anvadavat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas to show his causeless mercy to the Maya Mrigas, the people of this material world who suffer because of lusty desires. One should follow the principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and always think of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Then one will be eligible to live in Vrindavan and his life will be successful. Namo Vishnupataya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminnati Namine. Namo Vishnupataya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminnati Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tasmadetamaham tyaktva brahmanya dhyaya manasam nirdvandvo nirahankarash charishyami mrigesaha. Translation: Therefore I shall now give up all the desires and meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, free from dualities of mental concoction and free from false prestige. I shall wander in the forest with the animals. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with this chapter 19 of the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. King Ayati achieves liberation. So for many, it's a beautiful opportunity to discuss about this chapter again and again, as Srimad Bhagavatam is full of nectar. Every verse, even though it brings to the same point that, how King Ayati achieves liberation, by finally understanding the real purpose of life. For many thousands of years, he was wandering in this material world, engaged only in the lusty desires of satisfying his senses. So here, after realizing that, he has spent a very miserable life for many years, he has understood that he has wasted all these many years and wasted his youth, wasted his energy, wasted everything in satisfying the senses as well. Now, after getting realized completely, now he is explaining all these things to his wife, that, what is the goal of our life and how we have to live, how we should not live. Both the things have to be understood. How we have to live and how we should not live. Both has to be understood very perfectly. And one important here, Srila Prabhupada actually explains in the purport, this word which is Adhyaya Manasa. Brahmanya Dhyaya Manasam. Brahmanya Dhyaya Manasam is translated here as fixing the mind upon the Supreme Absolute Truth. So fixing the mind upon the Supreme Absolute Truth. So this is the methodology by which one can understand that, we are actually engaging in lusty desires. Unless we divert our attention and fix our mind upon the Supreme Absolute Truth, then there is no point. We will never be able to understand that, what is we are doing here, what is the actual objective by which we have come here. It's very difficult to understand. And Srila Prabhupada also quotes the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Guru. So what he also says, this is Arjuna's words, that, yes, I have understood you completely. You are the Param Brahma. You are the Param Dhama. And what happens is Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, that you are the real Purusha from which everything emanates. Adidevam Ajam Guru. So what he did, he actually understood that that is the Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. So what is the purest of pure, where we have to fix our mind upon him. So Arjuna is accepting here what so Prabhupada explains in the purport of that verse in the 10th canto of Bhagavad Gita, that, only by his grace of Supreme Absolute Truth that we will be able to understand that he is Param Brahma. That, if he is not able to understand that if he is not giving his mercy upon us, we will not be able to understand that he is the Param Brahma. So Arjuna understood that. Arjuna understood that by your mercy, today I understand that, you are the Parabrahma. Now, the other thing is also that is the Vedic injunctions also. The Vedic injunctions are also telling the same thing, that he is Parabrahma, he is the Adideva, he is Ajam, he is Purusham Shashvatam. So everything, all the Vedic Shastras are actually telling us the same thing which Arjuna understood perfectly. So the important point here also King Ayati explains in some of the verses before is that by the mercy of the Lord that I was able to understand the same thing as explained in the Vedic injunctions. So in order to understand what actually explained in Vedic injunctions also needs his mercy. Otherwise today you can find innumerable number of organizations, people who are on the quest or who are inquisitive to even understand that what is the real absolute truth, but they are completely misguided. How they are misguided? Because they have not got the real mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because of that lack of mercy, they are wandering here and there. They think that is spirituality. They think that that is the absolute truth. And the whole life is wasted. Poor, we actually feel very pity for them, that we are very fortunate that, we got the actual message as it is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of devotees, by taking the association of devotees. We are able to understand the real aspect of what is that, the real absolute truth. So, and the other thing also Srila Prabhupada here mentions in the purport is about changing our consciousness. Changing our consciousness or purifying our consciousness. See, the constant thinking of Krishna is called smaranam. And that is one of the aspects of devotional service out of the Navavida Bhakti. So the constantly thinking about Krishna, smaranam, comes when we actually engage in this devotional service of some practical devotional service, that we are all constantly engaging in devotional service, we'll be able to think about Krishna. And when we are able to think about Krishna, that is the time when we will be able to come out of thinking about lusty desires. So this actually like a circular motion, that what started first, whether the purificatory process started first, or we started engaging in devotional service and then we started getting purification. But this is the actual thing which you used to ask, that which started first. The actual thing which started first is mercy. That without Krishna's mercy, we would not even come to know about the absolute truth. We would not even have come to know to do this devotional service. And if you don't do the devotional service, then how are we going to get purified? It's not going to be possible. So the consciousness has to be corrected. And the constantly thinking about Krishna is the Smaranam process in which Krishna actually guides us completely. One of the examples which is often quoted is one of the incidents, I think, in London or somewhere. Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter that you are running this huge movement, a very big spiritual movement across the globe with many centers happening and many devotees joining every day. So who is guiding you? How are you getting the actual guidance? How are you able to take the right call? And Srila Prabhupada actually tells him immediately that Krishna directly instructs me what to do, how to do. So the reporter was little perplexed. He asked that, how it's possible that he comes every day to you and explains that what to do, what not to do. And one of the devotee who was a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada explains that he corrects that, what it means is that he takes guidance from Shastras, he takes guidance from what are the previous acharyas have done or something like that. And immediately Prabhupada cuts him off and corrects him that no, directly Krishna actually explains to me or guides me every day what to do, what not to do. So this is Smaranam. This is Krishna. When you actually in pure Krishna consciousness, what happens is then the actual guidance or actual mercy is flowing through the parampara, of course. So that is the thing about Krishna, that when we engage in pure devotional service, then we become destined to get his mercy as well. So it's like both the sides of the same coin. Now the question can also be asked that then Krishna is partial. Only who are engaging in this devotional service, he is showing some special mercy. Why can't he show to everybody, every living entity? No, it is not. It is very obvious that he also explains in Bhagavad Gita, Samoham sarva bhuteshu, na dvesho asti na priyaha. That I am not having any dvesha or no priya on anybody. Every living entity is Samoham. I am actually equal to all living entities. So there's never been an incident where Krishna has been very, very partial. But what happens is that it is because of our material conditioning that we are not able to see that impartial nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura gives a very beautiful example that the sun and moon are the bright luminaries in the sky. That in the sky there are very many luminaries. There are millions of stars, millions of planets. But what we are able to see almost all the time is that the sun and moon, which are the brightest luminaries. But even this brightest luminaries from time to time get covered up by the clouds. Now, that doesn't mean that these bright luminaries are getting covered by these artificial clouds or what we call as the clouds which are hovering around the material world. No, it is not. It is actually, it's our visibility that is getting covered. The luminaries are not getting covered. It's our visibility that is get covered. So the same way, our attachment or our conditioning to Rajogun, Sattvagun and Tamogun are actually making us covered to understanding the supreme absolute truth. That is the real covering that we are not able to understand. That that Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, that we have to engage in devotional service. So he is there everywhere. He is nearby. He is everywhere. Actually, we are not able to see him. It's the same way how the clouds are covering the luminaries, that our conditioning is covering us from seeing him everywhere. He is here. He is there. He is inside our heart. He is a Paramatma. He is everywhere. But actually, because of our conditioning, we are not able to see him everywhere. So what we need to do is that the clouds have to be dispersed away. How the clouds gets dispersed away? By the wind or by the rain or by any other process, it actually gets dispersed away. So that is how we are also engaging in the devotional service, that we engage in this purificatory methods by which all this conditioning of covering of Rajogun and Tamogun gets completely warded off. So that is the process which we are all engaging in. Now, Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita that how he gives mercy upon these devotees is also depends upon how much we have surrendered to him. E yata ma prabhadyante tam stadeva bhajamyaham. So whoever worships me, bhajamyaham, whoever worships me, and whatever proportion he worships me, whatever proportion he is actually engaging in devotional service, that much of mercy flows, that much of covering is removed, that much of visibility is possible. That much of actual understanding of the absolute truth is possible. And if it is not, then what happens is everything is covered and we live like an animal with covered consciousness, that we will not be able to understand what it is. As an animal loitering in the street, can it understand what is actual absolute truth? It cannot understand. So the real point here is that everyone is searching for Krishna. Of course, everyone is searching for Krishna. Even a person who is completely conditioned or the person who is the Paramahamsa. Everybody is searching, either directly or indirectly. The devotee completely understands that Krishna is the supreme absolute person. And what he does, so for the supreme absolute person, he engaging in devotional service. And for the impersonalist, he is also searching for Krishna, and he thinks that he is actually an impersonalist. He is actually a Shakti. He is actually something hovering in out there. He is also searching for Krishna. Or the person who is a Karmi, he is also searching for Krishna, if at all he surrenders to the Vedic scriptures. He engages in various yajna. Krishna reciprocates him also as Yagneshwara. Whatever he does, whatever has been told in the Vedic scriptures, if he follows, and the same thing is being reciprocated to him. And even if you are an atheist, you are also searching for Krishna indirectly. By not accepting him and engaging in all the animalistic propensities, like what King Gayati explains here again, that I have been engaging in animalistic propensities, and that's why he gives a figurative story. He goat and she goat. Otherwise, there is no need to bring this animalistic figures. So what we actually are doing is that we are all in different stages of desire. One is in the lusty desires. So in order to fulfill his lusty desires, he doesn't accept the supreme absolute truth. He thinks there is no God. He is God. And there is no way that there can be some supreme power. So that is atheism. He is one stage of desire. The other stage of desire is to get that, Vaikunta, for example, Swargaloka. Or what he thinks is that I will do many, many activities of Vedic scriptures, what the injunctions are saying, do some punya, I will help others. That also is different stage of desire. And what is the other desire? That after engaging in all this kind of fruitive activities, one comes to the absolute platform that yes, these are all temporary. Why don't I actually give up everything? And that also, if it is mixed with little bit of impersonalism, that also is different stage of desire. Merging into this absolute supreme, that also is different stage of desire. And we all transcend this, and one then becomes to the pure stage of what is actually called pure bhakti, or the pure devotional service, that, engaging to Him, engaging to the Supreme Absolute Truth is the only way by which we can understand. Srimad Bhagavatam also explains, Akamaha sarvakamaha mokshakama udarati. Udarati is a very important word. Udarati, Srila Prabhupada translates as a very broad intelligence. It's broad-minded, as we always say, broad-minded. Udarati. Tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. That in order to attain yajate purusham param, if you want to achieve param purusha, yajate, to achieve him, tivrena bhakti yogena, unless we are going to engage in this pure devotional service in a very tivra, in very, very fixed mindset, or very much determination, it's very difficult. Akamaha sarva kamaha. So even whatever we have, whatever kama we have, moksha kama udarati. So only the person with broad intelligence understands that I have to engage in Supreme Absolute, this devotional service to Supreme Absolute Truth. So that is more important here. And the living entities who are actually engaged in pure devotional service and who have got their consciousness pure are at a different stage of desire. What is their desire? Their desire is always there to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their actions. They are engaged, everybody is engaged in action. So, Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that, a living entity, a consciousness, a soul cannot be without any action. It's always very, very active. So, but what happens is, either we have to be active in materialistic propensities or we have to be active in devotional propensities. Either this or that. You cannot have a middle path. So either you are going to get completely engaged in lusty desires and think that that is happiness, or the supreme bliss of engaging in devotional service and understanding that that is the supreme bliss. And that is the first-class devotional service or the first-class transcendentalist who are at the topmost of these stages of desire, who understand what to do, how to do, and what not to do. So this is what they understand. And how do they do that? That's also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tashraddadana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya. Jnana vairagya yuktaya. What he has got jnana vairagya yuktaya, having been equipped. Yuktaya means having been equipped with jnana and vairagya. What is the jnana? That he is Supreme Absolute Truth. And what vairagya? That we have to renounce everything. And in that way, what he actually achieves is that pashyanti atmani chatmani. That he is able to see that pashyanti. He is able to see atmani chatmani. The Parabrahman he is able to see. That's how Arjuna was able to see. Parabrahman, that he was able to see. And what actually he does? Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya. That whatever has been explained in Shruti, Shruta Grihitaya, that whatever has been explained in Shruti, he is engaging in this devotional service, Bhaktya. He is engaging in pure devotional service. And what is the first line? Tashraddadana munayo. That he becomes very firm in determination. Tashraddadana munayo. He is called Muni. Who is called Muni is one who has got firm determination. The determination is very strong that I have the jnana, but the determination is very strong that I have got this vairagya. That, I don't want to engage in these lusty desires. Here King Yayati got that. What he got is that I now end of all this. Enough is enough. I have been engaged in all these things for many thousands of years. That is firm determination. Shraddha. Firm faith also. First he got faith that, I have to come out of this. That also is very important. So devotional service is a very serious business. Devotional service is not a two-way business. That, I can also come to do some devotional service and also engage in some lusty desires. Why can't I actually have the best of both worlds? There is nothing called best of both worlds. Either we have to completely have water or oil. We cannot mix both. Devotional service means pure devotional service, and which is devoid of any tinge of any materialistic propensities. Any tinge of any materialistic propensities. And what happens to a neophyte? Srila Prabhupada quotes in one of the words that's called material devotees. He puts a term called material devotees. Material devotees are the devotees who have just got attached to some sort of temple worship. They come to the temple religiously every day. They want to come and worship the Lord as in the deity form. They understand that Lord is there. but still they have not even able to come out of the material attachment. The detachment has not come. Vairagya has not come. The firm determination has not come. And for them, what they think is that, let me engage in all this materialistic activities also, and come and, do some small activities here in the temple. And Srila Prabhupada calls them neophytes or the material devotees. So the material devotees actually cannot understand what is the actual transcendental profit they can get by engaging in pure devotional service. The pure transcendental profit is that we have to completely leave away these materialistic propensities. And Srila Prabhupada used to quote somewhere that, it's like the famous Napoleon Bonaparte, who came all the way till Russian border and could not conquer Moscow. He took so much of efforts. He actually accumulated 5 lakh of his soldiers. He marched from France and all the way he conquered Poland, everywhere he conquered, and they came to the border of Russia. But at the end he could not conquer Moscow. So this is the same thing for these material devotees. They have come all the way. They came all the way from far and wide. They came and settled near the temple. They want to come and engage in devotional service. They come and live in a colony. They live in the association of devotees. But still, they are not able to give up that material propensities. So what is the transcendental profit? They are not going to get the transcendental profit. So what is the use of conquering all the way, thousands of miles, and coming and staying near the temple and not taking the complete transcendental profit? What is the use? Or living in the ashram as well. Many of the devotees actually give up everything and come and live in the ashram. But still, they are not able to live away the material propensities. So the thing actually is that the only way by which we can leave away this material propensities is by purificatory methods. That's what every day we tell. That, after the Mangalarti we sing, that, only by chanting the holy name, that, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, that what it does, it actually margina, it cleans up the mind, it purifies our consciousness, it removes the dust of our consciousness. What is the dust? The dust is our material propensities, lusty propensities. That is getting purified. So, here again, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, very, very detailedly about one should go and live in Vrindavan. Why he explains here is that because today's verse, that King Ayati tells that, I want to wander in the forest. I want to complete nirdvando nirahankara. That, without any duality, without any ahankara, I want to leave away everything and go and live in a forest with animals actually. And Srila Prabhupada explains that is the way in which one has to live their life after 50 years of age. At least 50 years of age. Not that only at 50 years of age, at least at 50 years of age. Even if earlier is also better. So what he says is that you don't need to go to the forest. What is the best forest is Vrindavan. And many of them, actually the same thing applies here, that many of them have go to Vrindavan. Prabhupada explains here. Still they are not able to conquer their lusty desires. They are not able to overcome them. And they are living like the animals what are living in Vrindavan. And what happens to them? They are actually engaging in the most abominable activities. So that's the same point here, that unless we get that real message, unless we purify ourselves, then we are not going to get that pure nectar, pure transcendental profit of engaging in pure devotional service. Otherwise, we will be completely waylaid in whatever various process we are engaging in. And what will happen is at the end of the thing, it's also very difficult to give up. Srila Prabhupada quotes in the last few lines of the Sri purport here that, this important line of Maya Mriga. Maya Mriga. Maya Mriga is very beautifully explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, that, Maya and Mriga. Maya means one's family, one's wife, one's children, one's bank account, one's assets. These are all Maya. And what is Mriga? Mriga means Mrigyati. Mrigyati means searching out. So what we are doing is we are searching out actually for more bank balance. We are searching out for more lusty desires. We are searching out for building up big houses. We are searching out for luxuries in our house. So what we are doing is Maya Mrigyati, Maya Mriga. Prabhupada explains here that, everyone in the conditional stage of material life is in Maya Mriga. We are searching out for it. What we are actually doing is abhivritti of our maya. So engaging in building a huge house, or doing all the various activities of engaging in all these activities is actually going to bound us more and more. The knot is going to be more complex, which we will not be able to come out of it. And he quotes this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, beautiful verse, 11th canto, 5th chapter, and 34th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Narada Muni's instruction to Vasudeva. And what it says is that only by following the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we will be able to give up this very difficult thing of this lusty desires. And the verse is, Tektva sudushyata surepshita rajya lakshmi. Beautiful verse this is. Dharmishta arya vachasa yataga dharanyam. Maya mrigam. This is the same word which is coming here, Maya mrigam. Daitepshita manvadavat. Vande Mahapurushasya Charanaravinda. And this verse is being explained by our acharyas in a very beautiful format. It actually explains the entire life story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tyaktva sudushtyaja. It's tyaktva, giving up. Sudushtyaja. Very, very difficult to give up. We all know that. We have all experiencing this. We have been experienced this. Very, very difficult to give up. Tyaktva sudustyaja. What is the next line? Surepshita. Surepshita is that even the demigods like Brahma are actually wanted what? Rajya Lakshmi. That what they want is the fortune. The goddess of fortune. Everybody wants the fortune here. It's very difficult to give up that. I don't want fortune. Enough is enough. Like King Yayati came to know that enough is enough. I don't want to engage this. No. Everybody is Maya Mriga again. Everybody is searching for it. So, Tektva Sudustyaja Surepshita Rajya Lakshmi. So, what he did, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, he married the goddess of fortune. Even at the youngest age, when he was in prime youth, he gave up and went for sannyas. Tektva Sudustyaja Surepshita Rajya Lakshmi. And what he is actually Dharmishta. What is the second line? Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Yataga Dharanyam. Dharmishta. Dharmishta is something like who is in the right path of religiousness. He always engaged in religiousness. Dharmishta. And what he did, Arya Vachasa, that because of a word of a Brahmana, he has to wander in the forest. Yataga Dharanyam. So why it happened? You all know. This incident happens. We must have learned this in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do this kirtan, closed door kirtan every day, many of these brahmanas want to enter that. They used to find very many ways that how can I go and enter and understand what is happening inside. And they were not allowed. None of them are allowed actually. So these brahmanas become very, very disturbed. So one of the brahmana, the next day on the banks of Ganges, broke his brahminical thread and cursed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you will be bereft of this material happiness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. Oh, thank you so much. That's what I was looking for. Very good, thank you. This is what actually we don't do. When somebody comes and curses us that you'll be bereft of material happiness, we will think, oh, what has happened? How can I, rectify it? What prayachitta I can do? Whom I can go and see? Which temple I can go, what activities, purificatory activities we can do. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, thank you so much. I am really blessed. Thank you. He jumped in joy. What he did, thank you. That's what I need. So what he was doing, he was actually, because of Arya Vachasa, because of a word of a Brahmana, he was actually loitering in the forest. And what he did, Maya Mrigam, Daitepshitam Anvadava. So what he did actually is Maya Mriga. He is the only person or the only avatar what actually came to relieve this Maya Mrigas. That all these people who are very much attached to this Maya Mriga, who are living like animals, he came to relieve them. Even if it is a Muslim, even if it is a different caste or different creed or anything, he didn't have any restrictions for them. He went far and wide to go and preach to them and actually bring them back to Krishna consciousness. And so what we do, that's what Vande Mahapurushasya Charanaravinda said. What we surrender to his lotus feet and he is Mahapurusha. So this is very beautifully explained by our Acharyas, and Narada Muni is explaining this verse to Vasudeva. So this verse can also be explained, where Jiva Goswami explains that this verse is actually explanation of Krishna's pastimes also. The entire Krishna's pastimes are also explained in this verse. That again, Tektva Sudustyaja Surepshita Rajya Lakshmi. That even he had the best and best of the Lakshmis, who are all his consorts in Mathura, Dwaraka. All the beautiful consorts, he had 16,108 wives. They were all Lakshmis, forms of Lakshmi. But what happened is he had never had an attachment to any one of them. He was actually living with actually showcasing how to live a family lifestyle. So he didn't have any attachment to any of this Rajya Lakshmi. And what is the Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Yadaga Dharanyam? And what happens is, he was also cursed once, that he would not be able to enjoy all this material opulences by a Brahmana. And so what happens is, he was also loitering in the forest. Which forest it is? Jiva Goswami explains, that is in Vrindavan. And why the Maya Mriga is explained beautifully by Jiva Goswami. Maya Mriga is that he was like an animal which was tied to a rope to the hands of Radharani. That what he was done, he was actually encaptivated by Radharani, that he was actually wandering in the Vrindavana, and he could not go out of Vrindavana because the rope was in the hand of Radharani. And what he did actually, he also, Dharmishta Arya, he also actually came to tell to people what is this actually religious path is, how to follow this religious path. And Vande Mahapurushascha Charanaravinda. So what we do is, we also worship his lotus feet every day, and we surrender to him. And that doesn't stop there. Sridhar Swami actually explains that same verse also applies to Ramachandra. That the same verse also applies to Ramachandra also, Sri Ramachandra. That what happens is, Tektva Shudushya Surepshita Rajya Lakshmim, that he has to, even though he is a supreme personality of Godhead, he would have, immediately taken by his powers back Sita Devi when Ravana took him. But he didn't do it. He was able to relieve her, even able to give up her. Rajya Lakshmim, Sita Devi. And second line is very easily understood. Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Yadaga Dharanyam. That when his father told him that you have to go to the forest for 14 years, that is Arya Vachasa, words of a Arya, words of a Brahmana. His father told him that you have to go to forest. He immediately went. He didn't even blink an eye. And what happened? The third line is Maya Mrigam Dagite Pshita Manvadavad. He was running behind that imaginary deer for pleasing Sita Devi. He was running behind that imaginary deer. And that is where we all know how Ramayana happened. So again, Vande Mahapurushascha Charanaravinda. So, see these beautiful things about Srimad Bhagavatam, full of nectar. And why do we need all this kind of, other literatures to read? Each verse can explain 3 different leelas of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ramayana is explained in one verse. Krishna's pastime is explained in one verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leela is explained in one verse. The same verse, that too. And that is why what we do, we actually worship the Shadbhuj form of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Shadbhuj form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he has, he holds in first 2 hands Danda and this pot, Kamandala. That shows sannyasa. He took sannyasa. And in the next 2 arms, he is holding flute. And that shows it's actually Krishna. And the other 2 arms, he is holding bow and arrow. And that actually encapsulates Ramachandra's pastimes. So Srila Prabhupada writes, in fact, the translation and the purport by his disciples, they explain in that verse is that this verse actually encapsulates the Shadbhuj form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which we actually follow in his footsteps, and by which we would be able to come out of this Maya Mriga. What is the Maya Mriga? That we are all attached to this lusty desires. We don't know how to come out of it. The only way by which we can come out of it is by the mercy and by surrendering to this Mahapurushastha Charanaravinda. That's the only way. Otherwise, it's very difficult. We can see even devotees, how they struggle hard to come out of this, this material and lusty propensities. It's not that easy. Sudushtyaja. It's very, very difficult to give up. So what we have to do is that is how this entire activities has been scheduled in a very beautiful form. Srila Prabhupada, we are all very, very indebted to Srila Prabhupada. How much we are indebted, we cannot quantify. We are very, very indebted to Srila Prabhupada. That he made all these schedules in such a way that we cannot take our consciousness away from Krishna even for a moment, if we are going to live in this ashram or living in devotees association. Very difficult to do. The entire schedule has been made in such a way, very airtight, that you cannot even look up here and there. We have to only be engaged in devotional service. And what it happens is, then, Srila Prabhupada writes here, then one will be eligible to live in Vrindavan. So going and living in Vrindavan, or in Vrindavan, whatever dham we have constructed ourselves, or any ashram what we have constructed ourselves, what we have to do is that it doesn't mean that we name them whatever we want to name, but the consciousness which has to be transformed, that then we will be very, very qualified to live in Vrindavan. So that is actually, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of that verse, that is samadhi. What is samadhi? The samadhi is that unwavering, full consciousness on only engaging in Krishna's devotional service. Unwavering. Not even for a moment that we get wavered off in any of these material propensities or lusty desires. That is samadhi. So the only way by which we can do that is that we have to give up. We have to give up all these things, what we have acquired for many, many years. Working hard, we have accumulated wealth, we have accumulated name, we have accumulated whatnot we have accumulated. It's time to give up. It's time to give up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to please Him. And then His mercy will automatically be showered upon us. Then this is very easy. Then it's very easy to actually come out of this Maya Mriga attitude. Otherwise, even for millions and millions of lifetime, we, what Prabhupada says, exactly the same thing, that they become material devotees. What is the real benefit of becoming material devotees? There is no real benefit. Even though we must have acquired some punya by coming to the temple, by, worshipping the Supreme Personality of God, definitely there is some benefit. But, it's like, that famous example of Birbal and Akbar, where, we all know how Srila Prabhupada used to quote this example, that, he was actually cooking a rice where the cooking pot was 5 feet above the fire. The rice is never going to be cooked. So we will never be cooked into devotional service. We will always be half-baked devotees. We will be like always material devotees. So the real thing, or to make our life successful, is to give up this, all the material things which we have accumulated over a period of time, and completely engaging in devotional service. And come in the association of devotees, like what we have done. Many of the devotees have come here with that real motive, that, I want to get association of devotees. I want to be in pure devotional service always. That is the first step, and their life will be glorious. Hare Krishna. Any questions, any comments, any protests?
Curse in this class. So we also see Srila Prabhupada in one of the famous purports, the 6th canto, when Narada, when he actually, Haryashvas and Shavalashvas, he was preaching to them and making them devotees. And in that particular one of the purport, Prabhupada writes that, so it is a blessing for us, we are coming in the parampara of Narada, that we cannot stay in one place for 3 days. We have to keep roaming around. So it's a blessing. On the other hand, those who have not understood about Krishna consciousness, people are sometimes very, very much, they are so much worried when relatives or some friends or somebody, they misunderstand or they speak ill words. Or many times I also have experienced, some of them say that, oh, I may get the curse of this person, that person. But why we should bother? We should be worried what Krishna or his devotees are concerned. That should be so that was an interesting point. It came to
Yeah,
mind.
that is true. Why should we be concerned? And all these people are all temporary. Like that's what the Vishnu Chakravarti explains about that word Maya Mriga. When he explains that, these are all temporary. What we have acquired, relatives, what they are going to tell, what I'm going to get their curse, all are temporary. Why should we be worried about them? Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.